Both of your cool setups. Now we just need to get Hulker involved so he's off the fucking beach.
I think that his. I was thinking about the backgrounds during this last podcast, and I think that it's accurate.
It is kind of accurate. I think the horror feel is better, and honestly, like I think what he's got behind him is the kitchen. But if it was just the right lighting, it'd be fine.
Well, that's where Cloyce messed with us, so maybe he hung on to that moment.
Yeah.
Like, that is the moment that he hung on to.
Like, if
what's going on, guys? Welcome to After Hours. We got a couple of guests tonight from the Red Writ. I don't know if you've heard of them, but we got Andrea and Drizzle here.
That's right. That's right. Drizzle used to hang out with us, but now he's got the haunt going.
Yeah.
So, Andrea, what possessed you to put on the gloves?
I don't know, mostly because I wanted to see if I could do that, the thing where the guy passes hands through the windshield. I didn't expect them, to be totally bad news, but
It was the Seraph in her.
Yeah.
The chaos.
I mean,
I was like,
chaos.
Of course, it's going to be bad. That's the entire idea. In full disclosure, because I don't want to give too much away, but I also don't want you guys to just be wandering in the dark. You'll find more. Hopefully, you'll find more and more about those detectives. They actually have a story, as in what's going on with them and what they can do, and roughly why they can do it. What I mean is there's rules. There's rules for it. There are rules. And it's very much in the theme of this game. And once you start figuring it out and whatnot, I think some of these guesses will be closer to the mark. Yeah. I mean, you were able to get both gloves. I didn't plan on it. But I also didn't plan on you guys to fucking murk them either, right?
There.
I didn't know it was gonna go that direction. So putting on the gloves was a huge gamble because you could have died. I mean, how much plot armor does Leah have?
So I have a total of 7, and now I'm currently down to 2.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Yeah, you could have died. It actually could have murked you.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And there's an element of restlessness in a game like this. Because it's a horror game. And when shit happens, it happens big. But everything in between is like the slow build up. And so I think restlessness can really happen, especially when we pop back and forth between a game like Into Space and this. This is sandboxy. You guys can do what you want. At the same time, I have to find ways of maintaining the atmosphere, or else it becomes Dragon Ball Z really fast. So,
fair.
I mean, I got frustrated tonight, but I enjoyed the game
because I spent Pip saying I was going to do one thing, and then I spent another Pip saying I was going to do something completely different.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, by the rules, just in the book, you technically can do that. But it starts to. It's all good unless the decisions start getting muddy, because this is something that happens in Dungeons and Dragons and all games as well, where someone will say, "Oh, I go to the door, I open it." Well, it turns out there's a fucking, monster on the other side, like a dragon, and you get eaten. Well, in second edition, you go through that door, you die. That's it. There's no rolls. There's no saves. There's no anything. Like, everyone knew that that headspace. If you walk through the door, you get gassed, you fucking die. And it would, oftentimes in the module, it would even give you a reason. It just says you die if you go through that room.
Yeah.
That's a very classic Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, Gary Gygax way of doing things. Because that's the sloth, that's the dungeon. In a game like this, you as players have so much narrative control, but it's got to be counterbalanced really by you all. Because as the arbiter, if I'm in a position where I'm trying to pull the reins back, it actually works against the system itself. Because the system is made to give you agency, not take it away. Right? And yeah, that's maybe
well, I looked it up on the internet and it said Nord was right.
I know, right. Well, first of all, that's contentious. I don't know if Nord is right about that. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't grab the deal. Any kind of discussion like that is fine. The issue for me is, and this is my issue. It's not a how gaming is. This is just my issue.
It's bullshit. No, it's bullshit. You can't look on the internet. I mean, that's just a thing. It's bullshit. I mean, you don't have to explain yourself. You can just say it's bullshit.
Looking on the internet's fine.
I don't know. I mean, no, literally, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a physicist. I don't know.
Looking on the internet's fine. My issue is if it's all about what we're trying to do, and for example, and again, it's completely me. If I go to a party and people are like, I don't fucking go to parties. If I go to a party,
chess parties.
You go to chess party.
You do go to chess parties, but I think in this moment, I think we need to understand where Lee's character is, and what do you think? Or not Leah, like Lee. Where did that come from? Leah's character is, and why do you think that Leah is like? Why did she split off from the group? And decide to go to?
Well, part of it's because she doesn't want to deal with the bullshit with her husband. Like, because I mean, obviously she doesn't know at this point, all the crazy shit that's going on, for you guys. But she just doesn't. She's not. That's a bit messier than in terms of like her emotional state than trying to just deal with a problem in the best way that she knows how. That means give no shits. Like, I'm going to get the information I need to get. It doesn't matter who gets hurt because they're not they're the bad guys, so it doesn't matter. Having to deal with something more convoluted, like her husband possibly being unfaithful or whatever the hell his deal is messier in her head than just, I'm gonna go get information out of this bitch who clearly is involved in whatever the hell is going on. That's the main reasons. Like, that's easier to deal with, even if there's more potential consequences, because she knows that world and how to deal with it, kind of.
I think it made a ton of sense. There was also the option for people to go. Like, you have the meta aspect where obviously one player going off to do such a big deal means what happened is what's going to happen. Pacing, there are pacing issues. That's a 20-30 minute scene. It's a 45-minute scene easy. And what that means is that either people are going to wait a really long time to play, which is kind of what happened.
But I liked it. I have to say, sitting here, I enjoyed kind of experiencing.
Well, it was interesting.
Like, and Leah, like, move through the house and go through those steps on their own. Leah's character is really interesting to me, and like, there is a lot of hurt in there. I mean, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but it seems like there is a lot of pain and like certainly like an amount of revenge, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but
on
Well,
the rich people.
and this is I've kind of let current circumstances influence to a certain degree my thoughts on Leah's character, like because initially I was like okay, it's all about things over there back home were getting a little hairy, so she just wanted to get her family out of it, and now I'm thinking that there might have started to be some kind of like doubts in her mind as to whether if she was really on the good guy side, and she just took herself out of the situation to not have to think about it anymore, and sort of like distance herself from all that stuff. But also this situation is kind of maybe not brought that aspect to her mind, but like sort of put her back in her old mentality of I get results, and whoever gets in my way be damned kind of thing.
and she definitely pulled out the soldier, I think. Like she
Hardcore.
definitely, and she's got the gloves. I mean, she's not
She does
like
have
I expected her to just go in and like unleash hell, on a series of rich people.
That's really hard to balance, and that's honestly one of the parts that makes it exciting and fun, and exciting and fun to watch, because it's going to go bad, but it's like, how is it going to go bad? What I was trying to say was, I'm fine with people splitting off in the group, splitting off however it is. I just think it's important for the players to also understand, because no one went with Leah. You guys had the choice to go. You didn't go because it made sense for you not to go. Your player characters are like, fuck that, we're not doing that. But there's also this element of, right, we'll understand that if you stay at the house and cook soup while everyone goes out and fights the monsters, you're cooking soup at home. And while that may be the right decision, is it the right decision for the game? This is something players have to do, right? There is a moment
I do enjoy the split, but yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's cool. No, I don't want to rant. I had no problem with what happened tonight. I think the split was fine. I think it was funny. It was appropriate. My issue as just running it was because it was late. I was really cognizant of, or conscious of, the time, because I was like, okay, I want to give Leah the moments and see what she does, and she has the freedom to do what she needs to do, but it can't take 20 minutes. It can't take 30 minutes, and that's why I cut it when I did, because I was like, well,
yeah,
I could speed this up and rob it, and that doesn't help anything. So
sure,
we'll just get it the next time. Yeah.
One of my favorite things of the Red Writ is that it's longer than real time. Like if this was real time, it would have taken like less time than the amount of time that we've role played the hours. So it's like, if anything, that is in and of itself a magical feat.
You're right, because it started at what, 12:30, and it ended at like 2:30, like 2:33. Lord.
Well, I mean, realistic, like obviously in real life, you don't have to spend a whole bunch of time describing all these these visuals that we can't see.
Right.
Sure. Yeah, the conversations are shorter. I mean, but it takes time. I mean, how long does it take to drive to that house? It takes a minute. That's a 25-30-minute drive.
LA would be like 2 fucking hours.
Yeah, well, if you were in LA, it'd be 2.5 hours. Mr. West Hollywood is downtown. Oh my God, that hurt. That hurt me in a weird way. Like I was like, oh my God, this person is such a noob. It hurts me a little bit.
Dude, I'm rolling down the way.
Bless your heart.
This is what happened. Hold on a second. Because you didn't know it was West Hollywood until I told you it was. This is what happened. So someone was like, hey, meet me down at this cafe. And I was like, okay, cool. But it turns out there's multiple of the cafes. And they told me that this cafe was downtown. So I put it into the Siri thing. And I thought I was headed downtown. I get out, I'm walking, I'm like, fuck yeah, in the middle of doing the Instagram post. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm downtown. And I walk past a sign that's like, you're in West Hollywood. And I'm like, yeah, I'm downtown. What the fuck? So then I went downtown.
Yeah.
Turns out it wasn't even downtown. I was in the fucking arts district. I wasn't even fucking
Yeah.
downtown. I
That's
can't get downtown.
NoHo, right? You were in NoHo, right?
No. I was
Because like when I hear I hear arts district and I think of NoHo. I don't think West Hollywood. I don't think Fairfax. I think, you know, gay bars and like Studs Theater and like sex shops.
I went to West Hollywood, and then I went down to the arts district, but it's far more south than Burbank and NoHo.
What is the street?
Because I live near. Huh?
What's the street? Tell me the street.
4th?
So you got 4th. So you were in like the hoity-toity part, like just outside of Beverly Hills, like walking around thinking it's dead.
I know it took me never to get there from West Hollywood.
Well, yeah.
All right, kids. Well, I better skedaddle, but I will see you guys next week.
Okay, Drizzle, we want to talk to you before you leave. Bye, Andrea.
See ya.
See you, Andrea. Tons of fun tonight. I love the character. Drizzle. How many times did you almost have a heart attack from like thinking that Gabby was dead?
Oh, no, I didn't. Like, but I was sitting there looking through the pictures and stuff, and I mean, there was a good chance that she would be dead, but if so, I'd have to change my major goal. But technically, because my major goal is locate Gabby. So even if I wait, does that count? I found a picture of her. Does that count as locate? No, it doesn't count.
You don't know where she is. You need to change that.
I know. I know, but I've been
reword that bitch.
Yeah. What did you think about how did Leah's putting on the gloves affect your character? Because you have fallen in love with this little girl, and she's a beautiful little girl. But where are you at with Leah's parenting style?
I'm not gonna lie. I almost said this in the game, and I didn't. As we were walking down the hallway, I was gonna be like, "So, Mariah, have you ever heard of social services?" I thought, like, as we were leaving to go see Marcus. But yeah,
she got it today. She was like, "Oh, where's my daughter?" And if you remember the last time we talked about it, like the three of us, I was like, man, if she doesn't say something, it's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
But he clearly, I think Simon is like thinking about adopting Mariah. Like, I think that could possibly happen at some point, because he was the one that went and picked her up. You know, he like Tony, like Nord brought Tony passed out, like, and threw him on the couch. Or no, not Tony. He brought
Leah.
No, Leah.
Yeah.
Leah.
I mean, you guys didn't get Mariah.
Yeah.
The only reason you got her, because you spent stuff this session.
Yeah. But you know, Nord wasn't going to do that. I mean, he didn't. That's not even where his mind is at. Like, children disappear, and it's okay.
Yeah.
He's bleak, dude. He's bleak. Like if he hears like a child scream, and this is from personal experience, like at a restaurant, he thinks, why did they bring this kid here? Like, why is this child out in public? They should be in a box somewhere away from where real adult stuff happens. It's not me. It's not Ken. And maybe a little bit, but
it's me. Maybe not in a box, but yeah.
No, not in a box. They should be in a park somewhere playing on a swing set, supervised.
Not indoors.
with nurses, so that if anything happens,
you're not allowed
they
to go
can.
inside if you're a kid. You had to stay
Yeah,
outside.
you
Yeah.
got to stay outside, especially in the 80s. I mean,
Yeah,
I
drink
think
from the
Nord
hose.
thinks.
Yeah.
I think that Nord thinks that Mariah should be out having fun with the other street kids.
Yeah, she's well. There's the issue though. I think, which maybe Simon gets behind. I don't know. That Mariah hangs out with older kids because she's precocious, is what it is, and so she is only like 11 years old, but she acts like she's a teenager. She's not a teenager, right?
Yeah.
So the people that she's been hanging out with are fucking not particularly the greatest of people.
Yeah.
Definitely involved in shit that's no good.
Well, but in all fairness, that's because their parents are as well.
Yeah.
I learned it from you, Dad.
Well, yeah, I think that's a theme of this is, all the people that Mariah has at least claimed as a friend or have claimed her as a friend. I don't know if it's been obvious or not, but they're on a completely different level of what's going on. As in, it's a different class.
Yeah.
Of people. And I don't think we've ever dug into like why Mariah's hanging out with all these rich people.
She's a future victim.
Well, obviously, yeah, but it's So I dropped a few hints, that Annabelle goes to like a boarding school.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a public school. I'm pretty sure it's a boarding school.
Yeah, I would imagine she would not be hanging out with who she's hanging out with if she was going to a public school.
Right. So the idea is that Mariah is precocious and she's very, she actually is very intelligent. And so the idea is that she's in a school where it's for gifted people. And that's why she's almost skipped grades. This is from personal experience, not my own. It's not what I did. When I was in school, when people from sometimes different states, because Kentucky, we have the greatest education system, or like foreign countries, when they came over, we'd be in the same class, but they'd be like a year or two younger because their education was so much better. And that's kind of the feeling that I was going after. Because, Mariah was an afterthought.
Yeah.
I didn't know Andrea character had a child.
Right, yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to make her fit in. And I think I have a little plot line for her to make it go. We just haven't really delved into it.
But she's really added some weight, I think, to any decision that any of the characters made. She's kind of like a black hole. I mean, she is. I think if she was in trouble, even Tony, maybe not Leah, would come to her aid.
Technically, I would.
I'm kidding. I jest.
Well, that's the thing that's one of the cool things about that NPC, and specifically how you guys play, is you all treat that NPC like she's a part of the terrain. Like she's a part of the story. And so you can't, if I say, oh, there's a mountain and it's a part of the terrain, you have to deal with it. You can't be like, oh, I did this and now I don't have to deal with a mountain. There's a fucking mountain there. That's where you are, right? Mm. And so you guys really deal with Mariah as she's an integral part of the story, that isn't just dealt with, which is cool. And it doesn't happen all the time. Most often NPCs just get ignored. They're basically equipment for most people.
Yeah.
Like, cool, get the NPC in here. Cool. And then they just fucking forget about the NPC. Ain't cool. So Drizzle, Simon, he saw some shit tonight.
Yeah.
I gave you an out. I gave you a bit of an out. What did you think about this? How's Simon gonna?
Well, this may be it could be it depends on what happens next. Could be the breaking point, could not be. Like the gloves I had no problem with, because he said they were conductive material and that you're going to close the circuit. So I don't need to know. I don't know how my microwave works, but I know it works.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that those were man-made gloves, and they were, well, I mean, I assume they're man-made gloves. That the reason that the TV blew because electricity is drawn in by them. You know, like they're not magical. Someone created these technological gloves that can shoot lightning. That's feasible to me because I don't know.
The thing is, and that's something that we talked about before. There's mysticism in this game, potentially magica, but there's definitely technology that is a borderline. Actually, that is supernatural in quality, like elixirs for Nord. Like there is theurgy.
Yeah, this is theurgy. Like that's what I presumed. When you said there's no batteries, these gloves, it's like nanotechnology. It's something that it's like if you handed Nord an iPhone and said, you know, this is a thing in 1982, he would have been like, "Fuck you, man."
Fuck you, man. Yeah. So those gloves, they operate. You know, there are rules that it operates with, and I think that's the difference. I mean, maybe this is a contentious statement, but I think that's one of the differences between magic in systems and when you enter science is, in my opinion, to do it right, the science has to have rules that it follows. And you can't really break those rules, otherwise it's not science in the aspect of the game. Magic is magic. And yes, you need a system for the magic and what it can do and what it can't do. But the whole idea of magic is it's able to do shit you either didn't think was possible or you don't understand, and so it seems supernatural, right? Which means in a game, magic can break the rules. Like I can cast fly and fly. Sure, there's a mechanic, but you actually don't need to know the mechanic. It's magic.
Well,
whereas
with those gloves,
you actually need at least a reason why it works.
It seems like with those gloves, if you strapped them onto some hover boots, you could totally fly. I think so. I mean, I really do. I mean, because that's what I believe. I believe it.
You don't know it. You believe it.
Nord, you know, at this point, if you said that somebody had a hoverboard and they used the gloves to power it, that hoverboard would exist, and they could go back to the future.
Yeah, that's in 3 years. It's 1982.
Yeah, I mean, but
not
still, 85. He knows about science fiction. I mean, they had Philip K. Dick. They had
1985.
There was a lot of science fiction.
I don't think they made up hoverboards, specifically skateboards that could float.
No, that was definitely not a thing. But certainly flying men. I mean, the Rocketeer was a superhero that came out previously.
Was that a good movie?
Yes.
I mean, I don't.
From what I remember, it was.
It was groundbreaking. I'm pretty sure in their visual effects.
Yeah.
Like at the time. I think
it was like Superman.
Yeah.
But if you put a normal guy in a rocket and have him fight crime, the normal guy is gonna get his ass beat.
Yeah, well, he is just a normal guy. He just
has a rocket strapped to his back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although apparently there's actually jetpacks now.
Yeah, I mean there are jetpacks that I've seen on the internet, and I believe everything on the internet that I see.
Of course. You should.
Like the hoverboard. Totally real.
So yeah, how's Simon gonna deal with this?
You'll have to wait and see. I'm not gonna. I have it planned out for when he does break. I have. Well, I know he might not, but like for the time that he does see something that he cannot rationalize out, I have the monologue kind of planned out in my head of what's gonna happen, because I know what it means when he does break. So
right. Well, that's the funny thing. Like when you get people that refuse to believe something, for example, ideologues, which I'm not saying Simon is, but like religious people, and religious in so much as not necessarily a religion, but the way of thinking. Atheists can be religious about their beliefs. They'll be faced when you believe something, to be faced with the opposite. It's very easy to rationalize.
Yeah.
And I think it's also an interesting perspective. And it's something that I've attempted to show here and there, is you'll see some supernatural shit, but then I try to throw in something that maybe it's a paltry explanation, but is an explanation. For example, with Marcus, you see his eyes glowing. You see water pouring out of his mouth. But then when he looks at you, his eyes, you realize, oh, they're not really glowing. They're just really bloodshot. Which I know is a flimsy excuse.
right, yeah.
But that's on purpose, right? It's to give elements.
We open the door. It's bright outside. He's looking outside. Right. His eyes are glowing. I think it's wild how polar opposite that Simon and Nord are. Because Nord.
I don't.
No, I mean Nord thinks everything is bullshit. He thinks it's all a big lie. But he wants to believe it. I mean, like that's the difference, is that he's like, come on, just because he knows that he's going to make money off of some kind of fantasy. Like it's the fantasy that is what like keeps him in the game, because without that fantasy, like he's just some pundit like spouting his take on bullshit.
See, because I always thought, because like when I started rationalizing some stuff out, Nord was like, "Yeah, no, that does make sense," and I was like, "I've got the guy who photographs all this weird shit agreeing with me that it's not weird shit."
Sure. It's funny. There's a meme out there that this is the weird place. It's like the meme was like UFO sightings, and then all of a sudden like photography existed, or miracles, and then the camera existed and there were no miracles, and like we're in that gray area until Photoshop exists.
Right.
So like that is where Simon and Nord are absolutely on the same page. Like if he is a character that is into opium and into like free mind and expansion and stuff like that, but he's also a realist. He knows that those are mediums for escape and not for constructive anything. He knows that if he throws out and takes a bunch of blurry photos of Bigfoot, that like people buy the magazine, but he wants to be more notable than that. Like he would want to really uncover, and he didn't want to see anybody hurt. That is where he's absolutely on the same page, I would say, as Simon. Like he's an altruist. Like he will lift other people in front of his own life if it came down to that. And that's why he stepped in with Leah, because that's who he is.
The Leah scene was tough. Out of game and in game. The in game idea is and I really dug it. When I say tough, I don't mean bad. I just mean difficult. You guys really were a bit at the standstill because of the in-game stuff, and I think the bit of Kobayashi Maru was very apt because you guys realized it's like, fuck, what do we do? Like we can just stroll out of here, but what happens? I don't know if anyone thought this. I thought this. What happens when she touches the fire escape?
Yeah, she would explode.
Like, I don't think she understands what's happening, maybe. I'm not sure if the character understands. Which I kind of kept on going at. And I'm glad that she eventually made the decision not to take off the gloves. I think that was the best decision. But a decision. Rather than, I put on the shit and now let's go act like I didn't. Right?
Well,
like you put on the shit, it's like, understand, okay, you put on the shit, and now you have to deal with it. And if you see a wall, you're going to keep on hitting that wall.
That was the hardest part for me, because Simon would have. I probably didn't play that true to character. Well, I mean, like, because I was trying to rationalize the difference between what my character would do and me as a player letting another character do what they want to do.
Right.
That's what I had the hardest time with in there, because like I was like, Simon would probably stop this or whatnot, but then also like I didn't want to rob Andrea of being able to do this that she wanted to do. So that's kind of why I was like, with Simon, he'd be like, we're running out of time. That was my rationale. He was running out of time. Let the crazy people do the crazy stuff. I've got to go save this child. And so that's kind of like how I tried to do that.
I thought Simon played it great. I mean, I don't think that Simon would have stepped in. Like, I think if anything, he would have like thought it was a thing, but like he is not a scientist. I mean, he knows science and he knows, process and stuff like that. But I think, it's something that we do as like in the military, I'm sure for sure, like you get some new equipment and you're like, oh, we can use this. And Nord is like, this thing is a nuke. I mean, I don't think he came up with that. I think somebody else came up with that. But Will might have come up with that. Or Bill might have come up with that. But it's like that resonates. Like she became a lethal weapon and her power became destructive to a lot of people. And it wasn't like he was like, does this control her mind? Does this, affect her? Like who becomes the enemy? Do we all become the enemy now that she can just strike anybody that she sees down? I mean, it to me, it's like this was a power that was so great. If you were given, Thor's hammer and you're like, here you go, are you going to use it? Just like when the person at Starbucks gets your order wrong? I mean, what's up?
If that's the case, you likely wouldn't be able to lift it. Ooh.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe it was an evil Thor's hammer.
Right.
Well, see, and that's the thing that Simon's got going on too, is because Andrea just shot the guy. Straight up shot the guy. Then you just shot the guy. And so Simon's like, I've got to fucking do this because and shoot, like try to put him.
Because
Nord had to shoot.
She guns down a dude. Yeah. Nord is sitting there like, Tony's fucking going nuts. Nord's like, shit, this is all gone tits up. We got to do it. The dude doesn't die, starts doing some wacky, crazy shit. And Simon's like, fuck it.
It was past the point of no return there.
I think Simon was the way that went down, I think it went down exactly the way it needed to, because Simon, that's Nord gut reacted, much like another character that we won't go into at this moment. But after seeing that magic stuff, I mean, again, with those blue gloves, it's a technology that's like a nuclear weapon. I mean, this thing is shooting lightning from the sky, and it's in city streets where people, from all walks of life, children could be anywhere. Like, this is...
It can be controlled as the other, or as far as you know.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, it can be controlled. It's just you don't know how. And what I thought was going to happen in that session, not tonight, but the previous session, I thought that Andrea would figure out she's being tailed, and then you guys would get to to the hideaway and would try to lose them or something. Like, that was where I thought it was going to go, which is stupid of me, because as a wise DM once said, 1 + 2 does not equal 3 in games. 1 + 2 equals bunny out of hat. And that's the thing. And she's like, oh, I pull over. And I was like, okay, cool. She's like, and I fucking murk him. And I'm like, oh, shit. Which, honestly, her by herself probably was not going to murk them, because they're going to go. And when they go, it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
And then you guys can just absolutely, like, straight out of Compton, murk these dudes. And I'm like, oh, shit. That's 2 of the 4 fucking detectives. Done. Oh.
The glowing eyes.
Oh no.
The glowing eye. I'm saying, like, this stuff is like, Nord has lived around the world. This is stuff he's never seen before. Like, when he was in India, they had dudes floating.
You probably saw some
like,
glowing eyes in India.
No, like they had dudes floating, and there were maybe glowing eyes, but they weren't violent. They weren't breaking car windows. There wasn't like an attack. Like, these are monsters to him. These are like, he is afraid. He's not been afraid like this anywhere,
You got some wild shit. You got some supernatural ideas. It's coming on the solstice, which people have all kinds of superstitions. This is Detroit in the early 80s. So you're in the Rust Belt hardcore. There's an idea of people taking drugs, people acting weird. Like, this is specifically set up to where you can rationalize things in certain ways, which is the mystery side of it. And I like the idea of you guys being in a position where you finally sort of started to get on the right page, or the same page, but there's still these loose ends. There's still the shadow of a doubt. And that makes it interesting. Even with the Marcus character and what is going to happen there. And poor Leah. That scene, man. I don't know how obvious. Do you know what I was getting at? Was it too vague?
What do you mean?
The one where they were in the house? No, it seemed like it was clear. I got exactly what was happening, that they were in on it. And like, if Leah survives to get back to us, or like, if we, like, it'll be happening. Whatever it is will be happening.
Here's a question. What do you think Loretta's doing?
I mean, she might be cutting Gabby up into little bits. Could maybe it's maybe she's cutting up a sheep that she's sheared herself, that they're gonna barbecue and then sacrifice somebody.
Right. I'm really interested in that scene, which is why I cut it. I wanted to get it to a point, but I could tell that Andrea had an actual plan. And that's one of the things that she does as a player, which is really good. She tends to think what she wants out, but then what she'll do is she'll be like, well, tell me about the train, tell me about this, tell me about that. Is it like this? And as a GM or a game master, arbiter, whatever, you got to be careful with those questions, because a savvy player, what they're doing is they're essentially mounting evidence against you. And then they're like, cool, so all this happens, so this happens. And you can't really refute it because it actually makes sense. But what's leading up to that is, well, is there a wall on the outside? Is it 2 inches thick? Is it made with this kind of stone? These are dangerous. These are red flags.
Sure.
Is this radiator painted?
Is this radiator painted?
I mean, as a player character goes, I think that moment, like, if I could go back, I would say nothing about the internet or any of that. I would just put my hands. I would just say what I did and then deal with the consequences. But you know, I think Nord, as things go, like, I regret that as a player character. As a player character, I don't regret Dolby, like, cutting a person in half. That was intentional.
Well,
that
those
was
are
real.
Those are two separate things.
Yeah.
And the issue with the Dolby thing, that just has to do with story. That's a George R. R. Martin.
Yeah, no, but we broke the wall. I mean, and I think that wall of fantasy is really important.
That's what frustrated me. It's not a frustration with you per se. It's the frustration, and that's why I said what I did. And afterwards, I thought it probably could be construed the opposite as well. My frustration was, as the arbiter, I was unable to keep the fiction going until there's a point where it's just a train wreck, and I'm like, well, we're out of game at this point, and we're really just talking. Which is fine, because it was fun, and I did enjoy the fact that literally everyone was in on it. Like, everyone's looking it up and talking about it, and Drizzle's fucking actually calling people, and that's fine. I think that's actually good content.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We were learning shit. It's fine. My frustration was, what I wanted was to keep it in the fiction, and I wasn't able to do it. So I was like, well, fuck. And, you know, when you're frustrated like that,
and
I'm
like,
gonna go make a sandwich.
the revenge that you'll get is when I DM for you in my completely fictional world.
There's no DM.
or arbitrate when I you know, when I AR for you, or is it AB? It's R, right? When I R, because I really want to
arbiting.
Arbit. So it's ARBIT.
Yeah, that's what I say. It's probably wrong.
No, it's fine. Arbit. Arbit is, it's like, you gotta shorten it, because it's like a long word to type out, and like, we are typing each other on a regular basis about like a number of things. So I type in DM because it's short. So I could do
GM.
Arbit.
Or DM is awesome. It's just trademarked. I mean, it doesn't matter to us, but that's why I was going to use DM in the book, but Dungeon Master is trademarked.
But Hasbro owns DM, so a little mental note, like,
that's why everybody uses GM. You cannot copyright mechanics. Yeah. But you can copyright things like Dungeon Master.
Yeah.
And Dungeon Master is awesome. That's awesome.
I gotta hop off.
That's cool. Drizzle, thank you so much for hanging out, and
wonderful night.
Changing your
I definitely love Simon.
Cool.
Looking good.
We'll converse this week.
Okay.
And we'll be back next week.
Yeah. See you guys later.
Anybody, my point, like, I'm gonna go real for 1 second. My point is, anybody who is into Hasbro, like, can go fuck themselves on the writer's strike. You know, that's where I'm at.
That's the thing. Like, that's the thing that I don't understand about people that have such a hard-on for Dungeons and Dragons. is I'm like, look, first of all, guys, there's a lot of nostalgia. I really like D&D. But honestly, D&D 5th edition is not that fucking good. It's not. It's not awful, but it's not the fucking greatest thing since sliced bread. It's really not. I think 2nd edition or 2.5 AD&D, I think the mechanics, people will argue, I think it is so much better. Yes, 5th edition streamlines it, but 5th ed is boring.
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
What's more, because that's a tangent. What's more, to support Dungeons and Dragons, you are not supporting an indie game. You're supporting fucking Hasbro.
Sure.
And everything is pushing, and that's all fine. Great. You love it, great. Fucking go after Pathfinder. I actually don't know who owns Pathfinder. Probably Hasbro now. Who knows? The issue is, why is there so much pushback? Like, anytime I'm like, hey, do you guys want to learn something, different system? And they're like, and they just won't even talk about it. But they'll play the shit out of every D20 thing. And I'm like, D20's not that good. It's not that good.
I mean, why does this podcast get the views it does? Whereas if we played somebody else's video game really well, like somebody else made this, like we didn't made it. We're just playing the video game.
Yeah.
I mean, they're making money off of that. They're playing a game that they have nothing to do with. I mean, I've struggled with that. Like as a person, as a content creator, that admittedly I make weird stuff. That is where my mind. I don't expect millions of dollars. Weird is where I'm at. I don't expect views. I don't expect anything. But like where our society is when it comes to lifting up people
don't do it. I mean, it's like you can go down the rabbit hole so fast. Really quick, Pathfinder is owned by Paizo, which is its own thing, and it's essentially 3.75 D&D. There's apparently a 2nd edition, which I've never played. Pathfinder solid. Go on, sorry.
Before I met you, I've been wanting to do a role-playing game podcast for and I pitched this to people maybe in 2012 when the world was supposed to end. So like streaming Dungeons whatever role-playing game. I would have been ahead of the game by 5 years.
2 or 3 years. I want to say Critical Role started in 2015.
I thought it was 17, but anyway.
It might be.
I
think it's 2015, March 12th.
And it wasn't like, it was so nerdy and so far out and off the grid that the people I worked for, they were like, who cares?
No one was going to do D&D then. No one.
Yeah.
Like I ran fucking D&D like a motherfucker back in 2011-12, and no one really knew what it was unless you were a geek.
I mean, and then
5 years later, everybody knows.
Of course, I was collecting magic cards in the 90s and had Dark and First Edition and stuff like that, and like that's all gone. So I could have bought my house many times over from where that was, but that's not the point. The point is that we are we're in our own thing. I mean, we can do whatever we want. There's no room of people saying, let's go in this direction, or the writers aren't telling us what to. The producers aren't dictating where this can go. This is it. Yeah. And the reason I really dig working on this show is because you wrote the book. I mean, how much closer can you get to the center of the world than the author?
Right. Well, and we're developing it too, which is one of the coolest things for me. Like, playing these games, it's developing settings. And, you know, the Red Writ, the horror setting, the modern horror setting, which can still feel film noir-y, still feel sort of, it's DreadLore's answer to Call of Cthulhu. And we're essentially creating that world and the functions. And I don't want to give too much away, so I won't tell you too much, but there are tie-ins that I have for the settings, a very meta idea, which is a part of this game. So I'm very excited because we're designing stories. We could take the best bits about it and create a feature film. Like, we could actually do it.
Let's go for it.
A lot of the legwork is done.
But one of the things I love is when I'm playing Nord, I can be like, well, Nord is gonna bid, like, we're in a bar, and there are two girls dancing with each other, and they're beautiful, they're stunning. You know, the lights are going down, and like, it's like, if he wants to approach them in Dungeons and Dragons, it's like, roll a d20 and it's your charisma.
Right.
The end. Well, in this game, I'm going to be like, well, I'm going to bid underdog, and I'm going to walk up drunk, and I'm going to activate my, jujitsu, and like start like doing like weird preset moves beforehand to like get them into it. And so it's there might be a couple of rolls of success in there, but it's like I'm not just basing it off of charisma. Like, what if both those attributes were taken? Well, maybe I'll bid walks off the path and quick and dirty, and like I'll
that's how I dance. Quick and dirty, baby.
I'll grab like somebody's tiara and like one of those little frilly necklaces and start like shaking it back and forth, and maybe they'd be into it, because there's flashy and like there's so many different ways other than like, okay, what's your charisma? It's 8. I don't know what that is in D&D, but like, okay, I'm gonna roll my d20 and I got an 8 of charisma, so I got a 14. So what does that mean?
The 13.
13.
So,
I got a 13.
And so the idea is, or whoever's the DM would say, okay, well, the difficulty is this. It's rolling, or it's flipping a coin. Difficulty is 15. You got a 13. Okay, they look at you and snub their nose, and then we fill in the gaps. So D&D allows you to do that, but you're right. D&D or even D20, it's so level based. The question is, if you're going up and doing that, then it's not about your character, it's about your archetype, which means what are your levels? Well, if you're a fighter versus if you're a bard, like, well, the bard is probably going to get that because you're going to have the +5 or +6 to your charisma. So your 14 becomes a 20. Of course you do it. If you're the barbarian...
I'm playing the barbarian. I mean, Nord is a barbarian. I mean,
so you're going to get
tell by the...
You're going to get nothing. You're going to get 13.
I'm going to get 13.
And that's the thing. Like, DreadLore as a system, the goal is the system facilitates the roleplay. In D20, that is not the case. In D20, you're attempting to roleplay, and then you have to use the system, or more often than not, and when I say more often than not, I mean 4 out of 5 times, you're not trying to roleplay. The roleplay is, I'm playing the fighter that is the good guy. And I've got these things I can do and these bonuses. So my guy, who's the fighter good guy, goes and gets the beer. Okay, roll. Okay, this happens. All right. And
how does that get you out of your comfort zone? It doesn't.
I mean, people, it doesn't. What it is, I mean, I got some pretty strong feelings about it. I go to gaming shops and shit, I had a live stream with one of my buddies, a guy named Daniel Huffaker, who's a really good DM. Has made up his own D&D setting. Has run very long-standing campaigns at game shops, and on the podcast episode we did, he made a huge case for gaming at game shops, and I argued completely against it because every time I go into these places, I'm like, duh, like I don't even want to play. It's so boring. And there's so much like you said, no one is out of their shell. You either have people that just bulldoze and they're not listening, or you have people that are just kind of sitting back and they're like, yeah, I do it. Ah. And it's like, guys, like, and girls, because usually there's girls too. It's all pent up. I've noticed with this game, or if you run a game a certain way, you can pull people out and they start being creative and saying something. Like they're actually showing. Sometimes it's ugly because you see, like, maybe they've got some shitty ideas, but they start at least being there with people.
Yeah, and that's the fun part of it, no, I'm sorry, that's definitely fun. It's fun to be out of the shell. Go ahead.
I will sit so I'll go to these meetups around town because I'm trying to meet new gamers. So
yeah, good. You got to leave your house. You're in LA. You got to leave your house.
Play fucking DreadLore, and also so I can meet people. And I'll go to these meetups, the gaming meetups, and I'll just sit there. And I'm a fairly gregarious motherfucker. Like, I am not afraid to sit down and be like, hey, I'm playing. These motherfuckers they're not interested in inclusivity. Like, you are othered immediately.
Sure.
Or at least that's how I feel.
As a random human who's gone to gaming shops and never been successful, admittedly, I'm not like, I don't push. Who's made a freaking D&D movie? I don't push.
Which I have watched.
Yeah, which is not great, but still. I mean, Lucy Lawless, Keith Sutherland, Michael Rosenbaum. I mean, I can name drops. Their parts are great. I loved working with Will. He did some stuff that it was, to me, it was the producers.
Mm.
It was Hasbro that said, you got no money for this, so, and they paid me shit, so it doesn't matter. That part is not.
They're never. They're never going to invite you in.
It's like, how often do you, like, you're not going to change the fanboy until the fanboy is a fan.
Mm.
Like, if it's like you have to set the narrative you gotta set the infrastructure and tell the story and be what draws them in, because like it doesn't matter. Like, they're not gonna let me in to play the game. They're like, oh, you can sign up or something and maybe somebody will call you. And this is like 2-3 years later, nobody's called. I don't know them. I'm not a part of their game. I'm not a part of their scene. I'm not a part of. They don't want to know. It doesn't matter.
Were you at that premiere at the Kentucky Theater that I was at with Holker, and those two people? I think it was BCTC premiere.
Mm-hmm.
And those two people, 3 people that I knew, sat down in front of us, in the row in front of us, and I said hello, and Holker said hello, and they just ignored us. Were you there?
Was that the one where you were in that really desperate needing for more light movie that apparently you froze to death in?
Yes.
I don't know if we didn't sit next to each other that night. I might have been the person that was sitting in front of you saying, who's this guy?
Well, I'll straight up tell you. It's and these people, if they're watching, Jeremy and Cheesy, you can go fuck yourself. I really do not like. I'm not going to name drop their Christian names, but I really do not like what they did, and it's not the first time they've done it. It's not the first time they've done it. Like, I have worked with these people. I have known them for years. Maybe they just don't like me, but they do this thing that gamers do, and it fucking gets me every time. And it shouldn't, but it does.
Nope.
It's this hand waving thing, and I'm like, you are not the person to hand wave.
Yeah.
Like you got nothing going on that I don't have going on. You got no business being like, and I'm like, dude. And the dude that was with him, I won't name drop him because I have respect for that guy, but he did it too, and they did it to Holker. I can understand doing it to me. I'm an ass. I get it. I'm an asshole. You don't do it to fucking Holker.
No, he's a badass.
Like, come on.
One of the things, just imagine, and I think this is the part of me and Nord that are very similar. Like, I don't give people like that credit. Like when we worked on that keeping score, like I rise above. Like stuff like that, I don't think about. It's not important. Like people are gonna be jerks,
right?
And I don't hold on to it. I make a note to like never fuck with them. In the end, done. Like that's it. I mean that's the way that you do it. And those same guys, when you make it big, when you're the next Michael Rosenbaum, or heck, you're the next, Jason Long, is it Justin Long? You're the next Justin Long. You're the next, like, you're on a commercial that is an Apple versus a PC or whatever. You're like, who the hell is that? You get onto the first Linux commercial and you're saying like this OS is like some balmy stuff that's happening right now. Unix based, fuck that. Mac OS, PC, like why would you even work on a PC? Linux is the shit right here. Because those people exist. And they made a commercial and I don't know why. But like it doesn't matter. Like do you think and the reason why I play Nord the way he does and Dolby's the same character in this. They got the blinders on and there's all these people with all this shit happening and their own like incontinent disease that they suffer with on a daily basis, their quiet desperation that they live in every day that makes them be a dick or not be a dick. If somebody comes up to me and says, hey, you acknowledge a person. If you don't acknowledge them, you've cut them off of the reality. They're cut off and they do the same thing. If I did that, I also would be cut off of their reality. I mean, it's their loss.
Yeah, they're just up their own asses. And that's it.
Their loss.
They're just up their own asses.
It's
and
not
I understand,
worth it.
like, they get the rationale. They're like, I can't believe you would. It's like, go fuck yourself. But that can really weigh you down, man. There's this I don't know, wise man, holy man dude. I don't know his name. He's this Indian dude. He's got the fucking beard and he's always
it's not Deepak Chopra.
That may be him. He's famous. And
I did an interview with his son, by the way, but
the half lotus
carry
going on. But he's always talking like this and shit. And he had this awesome story. I saw it on social media. It's one of the things I like about social media. I actually do gain a lot from it. Anyway, the moral of the story is this. Maybe you've seen it. People that shit on you are not necessarily your enemies. People that get you out of shit are not necessarily your friends. And when you're in shit, shut the fuck up. Like, know to keep your mouth shut, which I could really learn.
Oh, sure. Well, we could all learn. I mean, I was in some shit earlier today,
Oh,
and you just got to walk away. I mean,
yeah.
I start angry, I end angry. I'm always angry. It's managing expectations. Like literally, if you can manage your expectations, and I think role playing helps with that. I mean, it
Yep.
doesn't matter what it is. Like as much as I like DreadLore, as much as I like any of this stuff, the one thing, this stupid stuff that we do, this crazy like place that we go to in Magic
Mm,
Fairyland,
mm.
it's we learn how to manage our expectations and like know that failure is okay
Yes.
because it is okay.
Yes. And it's a very it's a for players it's one thing, for the person running the game it's a completely different feeling, because you're like, am I successfully doing what needs to be done, to constantly remind myself to be fair, right, and social, and all that stuff.
All right, let's end it there.
Let's end it here. Let's end it here. Good. It's a good move. It's not too late. It's not awful
Yeah.
late. It's like what, 1:30ish where you are?
Yeah, 120. Yeah.
Well, no, 12:20ish.
Yeah, 12:20, but still
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad.
late
All right.
night.
Well, are we still on?
We are still on.
Like, subscribe, follow, please. If that's your jam. If you like what we're doing, do all that stuff. Keep on downloading the podcast. We go live on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. We do the Red Writ. We do Into Space. We do After Hours. And we chunk that up and we put it on every podcast imaginable. Share it with your friends, because we want to make this as big as possible, and that means it'll just be better and better and better. Thanks to Couchfire Media for media production, all lowercase letters, and Misterinterrupt for music, and the Patreon, Daniel Hulker, the Patreon, Tim Roberts. Join that shit. Thanks, Ken.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Oh wait, no, we're back, and this is the credits happening. All right, I'm gonna cut the stream once the credits happen. All right, well, we're just gonna cut. All right, you thought we were gone, but we're really gone this time.
Right back. You're right back at it.
I brought it back.
Yeah.
Oh, it's late.
It's a really good intro and outro though. It really does look professional.
I don't.
Art and media production. I need to update my thing.
Yeah, I don't know why the sound isn't playing, but it's not.
Yeah, whatever. It's all good. Yeah, that's
Bye.
Bye.
Bill.